Hi, good morning, and welcome back to our crazy cooking channel. This is Healing Dash Second Opinion on YouTube, and it's second as in the number two ND on YouTube, and also it's Healing Dash Second Opinion, same spelling. .com is our website, and you can find our recipes there if I can just get a fire under the person who puts the recipes on the internet. So that's my next challenge, right? Well, I've just been thinking this week and trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to fix next that would be useful for you guys? And I wanted you to know that I tried a recipe. I sort of mucked around with it and came up with what I think is like the best version so far. And it's called the vegan breakfast sausage. And I thought it would be kind of nice to have something to go with breakfast because we have a lot of dinner stuff and things like that. So I thought, okay, how about breakfast? That's usually, well, it's supposed to be the most important meal of the day, right? And so I thought, okay, we can do vegan breakfast sausage today. Now, I think that next time I will do biscuits and gravy to go with the breakfast sausage. And let's see. Also, I wanted to do a tofu scramble. So those recipes are coming up because tofu scramble tastes really, really good with the breakfast sausage. And also, I think the biscuits and gravy will be absolutely wonderful because when you have biscuits and gravy, you usually have sausage mixed in. So we can try that too. If you're game, come back next week and we will do that, okay? And see how we do. All right, this is a very easy sausage to make. There are a couple of different variations you can use for spices. But I've determined that if you have sage, you can't probably read it, but if you have sage, that's probably the most important ingredient in a sausage recipe. I also used a ground ginger in place of some other things. The recipe initially called for sage, nutmeg, and thyme, but I could not find nutmeg or thyme here yet, so I just used sage and ginger. So I'm just telling you that you don't have to stick to absolute things that people say you need to put in something. You can try anything you want, and that is one of the most fun things about cooking, I think. In fact, I just made a coconut cake. I wanted to try it. I had only seen a partial recipe of it, and so I decided that I would just do my own variation on it. Now that's something you're going to really like too if you like coconut. And usually it's a lemon coconut, but this was a lime coconut because we don't have lemons down here, don't taste that good. They don't have the really strong lemon flavor, but limes are wonderful. So it doesn't matter which one you use because that flavor doesn't really come through on the cake. But I'm going to show you how to make that next, well, not next time, but maybe a couple of weeks from now. You can get that recipe too. I just tasted it. Oh, if you like coconut, this will be one of your favorite things on the planet. But back to the breakfast sausage. Let's get cooking on that because let's see, it says it's supposed to take about 20 minutes. Now, I wrote that down. I don't know if you can believe me or not. It may take longer. Okay, so you need a bowl. The first thing you're going to put in there is cooked brown rice. Now, it takes a cup, and remember my measuring cups are huge. So you can use any size measuring cup you want. Have you guys tried using a crazy coffee cup instead of just a regular measuring cup? Oh, it makes you feel free. You don't have to worry about measurements so much. So I just cooked this rice this morning, and I told you the brown rice here is a bit on the dry side. So I used extra water just to see what I could come up with. And I was thinking, if you don't want the rice kernels in your sausage, you could take the rice and grind it up in the blender or food processor, just a little bit, just to give it a, just to break it up a little bit, if you'd rather have that. So you can try that. If you try the whole first, then if you don't really like it that much, try chopping it up a little bit. Okay, so 3/4 cup of rolled oats. Now, the rolled oats, the one we have here, we have all kinds of different oats here, but the rolled oats we're using would be sort of oat flakes, which would be more like Quaker oats, rather than the harder oats, that have more fiber in it. But anyway, let's get this out of here. It's 3/4 cup, roughly. So I'll pour that in there. Now we need 2 tablespoons whole wheat flour. And here, whole wheat flour is called Trigo. You have to know these names if you're going to find something in the store. Okay, so I'm going to use one. Here's my tablespoon again. It's big. 2, and not precisely. It doesn't have to be precisely 2 tablespoons. It would be interesting to know what would happen if you actually used the actual ingredients that you needed, the right measurement. That would be fascinating. I don't do that, so let me know what you come up with. Hey, this is good if it's really measured right. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Now, if you cook the plant-based style, oh my gosh, you will have to have nutritional yeast. Now, I'm dying for somebody to come down and visit us and bring us some nutritional yeast. I'm running low, help. Okay, so anyway, we have nutritional yeast. Let's do 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed. So we'll put that in there. And let's see, what do we need next? Oh, I wanted to show you a trick. It calls for molasses, but you do not have to have molasses. You can use brown sugar. And so what we have is this panela. It is a organic, doesn't have to be organic, but it's organic, and it's cane sugar. So I'm going to use a heaping tablespoon. Just be 1 tablespoon of molasses. Now, if you have molasses, go ahead and use that if you want. But you can also make your own. So I have 1 tablespoon of that, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of water in here and stir it up, and voila, you have maple syrup, sort of. So I'm going to pour that in. See, almost everything substitutes for things. I was reading something the other night, and somebody was saying, oh, I started this new diet, and this recipe calls for mushrooms, and I hate mushrooms. So how can I make this dish? I have to have mushrooms. No, you don't. You can leave the mushrooms out. Life will go on. You will have a wonderful dinner, and you don't have to worry about it. So don't get hung up on the ingredients. If it's something that you don't really like, substitute it for something else. And you may just discover something that is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I have 3 tablespoons of water. Notice I have my water today. So 1, 2, 3. Now, knowing me, you may need more tablespoons of water than it calls for. So just keep the water over here. Now it calls for 1½ tablespoons of tamari, which is sort of like a soy sauce. Soy sauce, yeah. So I'm going to use Kikkoman soy sauce, and this is a salsa china that we have down here. It just has a little kind of a sweeter taste. So I'm going to use both of those. Let's see, how much tamari? Oh, 1½ tablespoons. So I'll use a 1 tablespoon of the regular soy. If you have tamari, you are lucky. You can use tamari. So I'll use a ½ teaspoon of that, of the soy china. I use that for the Chinese food that I make. And the flavor is amazing. It's really amazing. Okay, let's see. Oh, I have to warn you about the red peppers. Now, we love red peppers. Hot, hot, hot is good. I'm from Texas. Hot is good. You must have spicy, right? But here, I tell you what, this is a brand new thing of these hot pepper flakes. And the recipe calls for, when I originally wrote it, a ½ teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Trust me, you want to be careful with these. So I will use less than a ½ teaspoon, about 1/3 teaspoon, and see if that works better. Because it was like, woo! So I don't know if you want to go that bold, but if you do, go ahead, because you will love it. Let's see, we need a teaspoon of black pepper. Now, black pepper is a real good essential ingredient in this. So a teaspoon of black pepper, and you notice my measurements are not exactly again. Okay, and 1½ teaspoons of sage. Now I put that in there because I'm using sage in place of the nutmeg and thyme. I bet it would be good with nutmeg and thyme, but I just use sage, and I found out that it works really, really great. Whoops. Okay, well, we have to make an allowance for that because I poured too much in. So we'll see what happens. And you can't get it out. And it smells very sagey. Okay, well, we don't know if that's going to work or not. Well, we'll have to try it. Okay, so here's, now I know they have nutmeg here somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. So let's see. Oh, yes. I used a teaspoon of fresh ginger. Smells good. And it gives it a really nice flavor. You'd be surprised. I'm going to sneeze. Pepper's getting me. Okay, so it looks like now we mix it all together. I may need to use a little more water, so keep the water handy. All right, now this doesn't sound like it's going to make a sausage, does it? But it really does. Okay, use a little bit more at a time if you need to make it wet. Okay, so you can see it's mixing it up. May have to use my hands. It might be good. Okay, in the meantime, turn your fire on to like a medium high, and you're just going to use a dry skillet. I know it's hard for people when they switch over to a plant-based diet. They're so used to using oils, and I read somebody on one of the blogs I'm on that talks about recipes, And they said, how am I going to get my healthy fats? You know, there's no recipe for that. I don't know if I can do this. Well, if you are not worried about your weight, you can actually eat some nuts and seeds, and that's fine. But if you are trying to lose weight, then you probably want to hold back on the nuts and seeds, or at least reduce them, and measure it out before you eat it, because you know we're used to just kind of the stuff sticks to your hands. So here's what the water's for too. You dip your hands in the water, and then you can get the patties out. Now this is supposed to make patties for 4 people. Just flatten them out like that. So as you can see, it does make the flat sausages. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook these in the pan, and it takes just a couple of minutes on each side to cook the sausage. And oh, it's very reheatable. You can put this in the refrigerator after you cook it, and then you can reheat it. If you use a microwave, you can use the microwave, or if you use a panini maker like I showed you last week. Panini maker, wonderful way to heat it on both sides at the same time so it gets ready really fast. Or you can heat it in the oven, or you can heat it back in the skillet again. So there's just all kinds of options. Please don't limit yourself. Do you like sausage? I love sausage. It is so good. And you're thinking, okay, where are the eggs? But if we do biscuits and gravy next week, which we will do, then we will have a piece of sausage left to put in there, and make biscuits, gravy, and sausage. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that music. That is the gas guy going by. He sells propane, and he goes around the block 2 times and plays his music. At first they were using a whistle or something, and people complained about the whistle. So now he went to you know, the music, which I don't know if it's any better, but you sure know when he's coming. Okay, so let's put some of these patties in the skillet and get these things cooking, huh? All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, if you want to make smaller patties, you can. Coco, it's all right, girl. She's going to watch out for everything. So this is going to be a huge patty. Okay, I'll do this one. But if you want to make them smaller, that's fine too. You can make them any size you want. And you can make as many patties as you want. So if you have, if you'd like to make some ahead of time so you've got them to go, ready to go when you have breakfast and stuff, make a double recipe. Then you're all set for the week. Now yesterday I spent I guess a couple hours making spaghetti, and I made some potato salad, and I just made the cake this morning. I'm always trying to make something new, something interesting, because I think that, I don't know, I like variety. I read somewhere that people, generally speaking, only spend, let's see, they usually sort of land on a couple of different dishes, like maybe no more than 10 or 15 different things to put in their diet. So have you noticed that you eat the same thing over and over and over again? Well, that's great. That's fine. If you find something that you really like, that you have go-to things to make, that's absolutely fantastic. Um, our oldest son, um, Walt, does love to cook too, and so does Michael. In fact, Michael Michael has discovered that he loves oats, and he gets the Scottish oats or the Irish oats, or and he cooks those, and he's even using it in Mexican food. He's using it in place of rice. And this is a guy who has lived on rice for a couple of years now on his own, making his dishes. So he is so excited about the oats. And who would have thought? Yesterday he was telling me that he was making a wonderful, wonderful Mexican dish using oats. And so he uses oats for everything right now until he gets tired of oats. So I don't know if anybody would have thought of that. That's pretty interesting. So I'm gonna have to try it because it sounds pretty good. I'm just fighting with the brown rice right now because it's being really difficult. I told you it tastes like cardboard. Well, it kind of does, but I put more water in it today, and maybe that'll help. Let's see. Oh, also, I got a Marco Polo message from my son Walt yesterday, and he told me about his bean patties that he just made, and he was so excited because he used all the usual ingredients you would make in a bean patty. And if you don't know what's in a bean patty, I will do one of those for you too. There's so many ways to make them, and they are wonderful to put in the freezer, and you can just reheat them and use them in a bun, or you could put it in like the tortillas that I showed you. You could have it on the side just with mashed potatoes and gravy and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways to do things. Well, he cooked the bean patties in the oven for 45 minutes, and then he took them out, and he put, let's see, in a skillet, he put some vegetable broth, and just a little vegetable broth. And he put the patties in the vegetable broth and heated them up again. And then he said he turned them over and he let them just kind of steep in the vegetable broth for a while. And when he took them out and put them on the bun, they were really, really moist because bean patties tend to dry a little bit. And he said they were so moist. And he said when he took a bite out of it, it just kind of, the juice dripped on his hand, and he thought surely it was going to be grease, because you know when you're eating a juicy hamburger, you have the juice flows down on you, and he was thinking, oh, it's going to be grease, and he hates grease. So it turned out, no, it wasn't grease, it was juice. And he said it tasted so much like a hamburger, he couldn't believe it. So that's something to try if you've tried bean patties and they seem dry to you in the past, especially after you reheat them. You might want to try using some of that vegetable broth. I think that's a really good idea. So he was so excited because it just turned out absolutely perfectly. I'm going to turn the fire up just a teeny bit. And we've got a plate ready here. If these things ever get ready to turn over, let's see. I better use a spatula. I'm going to burn my fingers off. Yep, they're browning on one side. And you just turn them till it browns on the other side. See, it doesn't take real long time to make these. But I think the best thing to do, this is what I do. I make them ahead of time and just put them in the refrigerator. Or you could freeze them if you didn't think that you were going to eat all of them right away. But they last in the refrigerator about a week. And it's amazing. And I think with the biscuits and gravy, oh wow, that's going to be so good. So I have a recipe for biscuits that I think is going to be fantastic. So I'm excited to try that. Let's see, and I tried some other recipes lately. I made a lentil loaf that was unbelievable. It's so good. So we got that coming up, and along with that, I discovered that one of the best flavors with the lentil loaf is a dressing, and it's like a cornbread stuffing. Only it doesn't have all the fat and everything in it that you used to using. And it's, oh, the flavor is amazing. It's so incredible to know that you can make things without putting a lot of extra fat and stuff in it. And if you watch some of these videos that I told you about, and go to some of these websites and find out what oil does to your system. And this is oil that you would just eat in one meal. Does amazing damage to your arteries and to the rest of your system. So, you know, I'm on this cancer binge here, trying to deal with food as medicine. And so I am really doing tons and tons of research, and more things come out every day. But then research, I don't know, you know, some people call it research if they just try something, but that's not research. It has to be repeated, and it has to be a large sample for it to really be a valid research project. So, and it has to go, you know, it has to work in a bunch of different situations with different people. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about Colin Campbell, T. Colin Campbell. If you want to look him up, he is an amazing person who has done tons and tons of study on this. In fact, he did the China study. You may have seen that book. It's about that thick at the bookstore, and it's probably the most groundbreaking research about health and healing that you will find in terms of food and what it does to your body, and how that the best food that you can make, like the plant-based food, the best food that you can make is going to be the best thing for you for healing all sorts of different conditions. I can tell you all kinds of things that I've been going through, but I tell you what, when you discover suddenly that you have cancer, and you thought that you've been doing all the right things, it's very disillusioning and extremely upsetting, and basically it changed my life. And I decided that what I was going to do was I was going to hear the patties now. Let's dump them all out here. Woohoo! Okay, got it done now. Whoa! See, doesn't that kind of look like sausage? I think it would be enough that even your friends who don't eat this way would really like it. And if you don't eat this way, you would still like it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try. I'm just going to pick up one because you can cut it easily. Oh. This is wonderful. Now, oh my, it tastes just like sausage. It's really amazing. You won't believe it. Now, if you want to, you could add a little salt too, or you could salt it after the fact if you want. But oh, these are amazing. I really want you to try this if you like sausage for breakfast. Oh, it's so good. Okay. Well, I think we have a successful morning here with our new recipe, and I hope you try it. And if you have these other spices, nutmeg and thyme, go ahead and add those in. It's just a little bit of stuff. I think it's about a quarter of a teaspoon, but go by taste. And remember, since this doesn't have eggs in it or anything like that, you can always taste what you're cooking before you cook it. So that's really neat. I always taste the cake batter when I'm cooking that. So anyway, I think that's our video for today. And thank you so much for joining us and for supporting my efforts. And I hope they become your efforts too. And together we can change the face of health and healing in our country and maybe the world. Who knows? I'm not ambitious or anything, but I know I'm not the only one who's dealing with any kind of physical or any kind of physical issues. And we don't even know if we have health issues all the time. So I think that the faster we determine that we're going to eat the best stuff we can eat, the faster we will start healing. And so anyway, thank you so much for joining. And please, please subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel. So appreciate your watching. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Actually, it's weekend now. This is Friday instead of Thursday. Anyway, have a great weekend. Ziggy's chiming in with me. Love you guys, and I will see you soon.